Guess what? We're live on Twitch.
Hi, everybody.
Just happened. Surprise!
Here
I
we are.
surprised you.
Yeah, you did?
Happy birthday.
I didn't. It's not my birthday.
Happy half
No,
birthday.
no.
Half birthday, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I guess it is.
Nick is 43 and a half years
That's
old.
rude. And you know it's not true.
I shouldn't have shared his
You
age
know.
on...
You know that
Podcast.
isn't true. So stop it.
All right, I'm sorry. What was Vietnam like?
I've never.
I mean, just even watching the news on TV.
I haven't.
With
I'm
your,
only.
with your Lincoln Logs.
I'm
just sitting at the
36.
row.
36 and a half.
Are you 36?
Mm-hmm.
That is a little bit older than I thought you were. You know why, though?
Why?
Because I'm older now, too.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why I'm like, he can't be
Yep.
36. He's close to my age. But
Yep.
that just means I'm that much older than
Yeah.
I was yesterday.
Older and grosser.
Grosser?
Just because of the way your body's aging.
Aging. Oh, sure. That makes sense. It's a physical grossness.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what do you think had Jabba lived for like another 100 years?
Jabba the Hutt?
Jabba the Hutt. What do
Oh.
you think he would have looked like at the end of all things?
Oh, maybe better, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
You think a few more wrinkles would
I
have
think
evened
he
it out?
would have. I think he would have shrunken down a little bit.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
he would have slimmed up.
Yeah.
He might have had a graceful elegance, you know.
Crystal Storm, thank you for that host, as well as myself, Dusk versus Tweak. Thank you for that host.
That's you.
Yeah.
Are you still? What are you playing right now?
Suikoden?
I don't know what that
It's
is.
a PS1 era
Oh.
JRPG.
Wow.
But also, I've been playing a lot of just Civ 6 at home.
Okay.
So, Civilization 6.
I actually didn't know,
Sid
so
Meier's.
I do appreciate you telling
Sid
me that
Meier.
because
Did you ever play?
I
It seems
didn't
like
know.
you might have liked. I don't know if you ever played it, but it seems like Sid Meier's Pirates might have been up your alley.
No.
You're just a pirate.
Yeah, I mean, I
haven't
like.
played it
I like Sea of Thieves.
This is different.
Well, but it doesn't change the fact.
All right.
Hold on.
Wait, where are you going?
I'm just gonna close my window.
Why do you look like? Oh yeah, looks like the second coming is happening outside your window. I said the second coming. Ah! I was looking as you opened the blinds again. It's real dark in here now, though.
Well, you can turn the ceiling light on if you want.
Why does it involve me getting up?
So many wires. So many wires. Guys, my brother and I went to see the Marshall Tucker Band, and you're gonna hear a recorded response, and it's much kinder than we want it to be. So see if you can read between the lines. That's just for you, Twitch stream.
You didn't like Marshall Tucker Band.
Uh,
What it's gonna boil down to?
yeah, I think they just, especially the lead guys,
Yeah, well they're old, right?
you know,
102.
yeah, not that old. They've been going for 48 years.
What was it like seeing them in concert when they were debuting?
I'm only 36.
Got him.
I guess.
Oh boy!
I
Just
guess.
1-2 punch. You're
Yeah.
gonna have to start calling me Little Mac
I
after
will.
the character from Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
I will do
but
that.
don't call me
Yep.
Mike Tyson. Call me Mike
Little-
Tyson
Little
chicken
Mac.
patties for dinner.
Little Mac. Oh, I don't get it.
Tyson patties?
Okay.
Tyson chicken?
Do you want to do a podcast?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I guess we could just keep talking about Tyson chicken patties,
Yeah.
but they're kind of gross.
Yeah, they are.
I hate banquet chicken. Banquet chicken is real bad. Tyson has a step up in the quality, but you're still just like, blah.
Agreed. We got a decent amount of user feedback for this one, but to our Twitch viewers who are watching live, feel free to chime in with your favorite sci-fi books, and we'll try to get them when we're on the air.
Apologies about Nick saying the word "but" on podcast before we even start streaming. You just said it.
Okay.
You just said it. Everybody
Let's do
saw.
it.
Okay.
Can we make this?
Yeah. Sorry, I was getting the list of people who said things to us about books.
Okay.
All right. 201.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't use this anymore. Your
No,
kid
you
was
can't.
using it.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yep.
I almost said thank you. Sorry, I'm going to start over. I almost
Okay.
said thank you for calling the David A. Howe Public Library.
Sorry, Crystal.
What happened?
She told me to watch my mouth.
Yeah, see? People know. People heard it. It wasn't just me. It's on the tape. All right. I'm going to say welcome instead of pretending I'm answering a phone
Do it.
here.
I'm ready.
Welcome to episode 201 of the All the Books Show, recorded at the David A. Howe Public Library, where we talk book news, author news, and literary news. I'm Eric Mickles.
I'm Nick Gunning.
Yeah. It feels weird saying 201 instead of 201.
Yeah.
Because we used to... I guess I said 109.
Yeah, you say like 191, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Not 100. I didn't say welcome to 100.
It's like how for
Yeah.
a while we were all saying 2001, the year 2002.
Right.
When did you stop doing that?
Saying like 02 and 03.
Yeah.
Probably the 10.
No, the full 2000. Saying
Yeah.
the full 2000.
It's 2009.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So once you get to like
Once you
2010, 2011.
Yeah. Once you
Okay.
start having to being like, oh wait,
Yeah.
2011.
So it's been a while.
Now I'm saying 20. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't, because
Just
he was
curious.
like, do I say 2009? Seems like you might as well just say 2009.
Yeah, it's
Almost
true.
seems shorter.
Similar. It's like when you shorten barbecue to BBQ. Same amount of symbols, people.
Yeah.
You know what? I meant syllables, and I said symbols.
Yeah,
So
well,
there's something
what
in the
are
air.
letters if not symbols?
You know what? Thank you, Eric. Today we're going to be talking about sci-fi books, folks, because we are in the midst of the summer reading program, and our theme this year is a universe of stories. So we have some fun guests coming up on the podcast in the next couple of weeks. We'll get into that in a little bit. But everything we're doing programming-wise here at the library is space-themed, and so we're going to be doing some space sci-fi episodes as well.
Does Star Trek ever meet like an intergalactic space butterfly? Was that ever a thing?
Sort of.
Because I wanted to start singing Butterfly in the Sky, but I was
Yeah.
going to make it a space one.
Right.
Then, like, did Star Trek ever be like, it's a
Yeah,
giant
like
butterfly?
the star jellies from
okay.
Encounter at Farpoint, the first episode of Next Gen.
Oh, yeah.
There's those big like woo, that kind of
Yeah.
counts.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yep.
Well, there you go. Star
Yeah.
Trek had butterflies.
There you go. So we're going to be talking about that coming up. Why don't we dive into the yes?
Does Next Gen ever make you sad? Star Trek ever make you sad? Like in Next Gen with the holodeck.
Yes.
They're always like talking about experiences they can have on the holodeck, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is kind of sad.
Yeah.
Because none of them are actually doing real
Right.
things. It's just
Mhm.
kind of depressing. It's
Yeah.
like, but if you put in the right algorithms, you can feel like you're at the beach. I'm like, or
Yeah.
just go to the beach.
take a vacation.
Yeah.
You know?
Just kind of like
I
cold.
I understand.
Anyway.
All right, let's get into the old bookmark.
Okay. I paused to let the music play.
I understood. Yes, thank you. Why don't you go first?
I could tell you why I won't go first.
Okay, well then
I'm not ready. No, I'm going to go first.
Okay.
It just means a slight delay for the live stream.
Unnecessary.
But those who
I
listen
could
to
just
the
go.
edited
I could
form,
go at any time.
They're going to experience something
I could still just go.
completely free form.
Okay.
Let me just sort by date
Oh my
modified, and we are off. All right. Oh wait, hold on. Let me
my
turn on the actual image. This
Okay.
would have happened if you had gone first too.
Oh no, I've got them all written down in my journal, but that's all right.
I read Deadpool versus The Punisher
Oh,
by Jeff Van. How do I say his last name?
who are you talking about?
Fred
Van Lent?
Van Lent. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Wrote Deadpool versus The Punisher.
Yes.
Fine.
Yeah. Those are not characters that I care about. So them
Deadpool or The
together-
Punisher?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You're anti. I don't know. Whatever I'm trying to think of.
I don't know either. I guess I don't like the violence of those characters.
Yes,
It's not
it was
something I
violent.
particularly enjoy.
It's not a strong Punisher output, but there's some funny stuff
I
in it.
see.
Like every issue ends with Deadpool figuring out that he's been tricked into helping the Punisher because the Punisher keeps shooting him in the head, and then Deadpool will wake up after his healing ability cleaned up and everything. He's like, "Wait, where am I? I'm in the car," and he keeps saying he's had this crazy dream, but it turns out he's just recapping an episode of The Golden Girls, and every issue ends with Deadpool being like, "Wait a second," and then being shot in the head. And then
That sounds pretty funny.
And then also Deadpool and the Punisher are fighting at the end.
Okay.
And Punisher goes to insult him by saying, "You mother," and he can't because of being strangled. And Deadpool's like, "Wait, did you just say your mother's name is Martha? My mother's," and then he's just like, "Holy crap, this changes everything."
Wow.
He just lands on the ground. I was like, this is a big deal.
That sounds funny.
But then Punisher's like, "My mother's name was Louise," and Deadpool just was like, "Well, then you're dead, mother."
That's funny.
Yeah, it was a funny time.
Well, you came close to swearing there a couple of times.
Almost, I would have had
so-
to edit out
yeah,
or
you
give
would've.
myself the
The old bleep.
Magan.
Yeah,
the Magan treatment.
Yep. Yeah, we had to bleep some swear words in our interview with Elliot S. Magan, but it's a great interview, so go back and
Yeah.
listen. That's our Shazam episode.
It was funny because he kept saying the F word, and after he said it about 3 or 4 times, like, "Oh, can I say that on the podcast?" Or I'm like, "Not really. We'll fix it." I read From the World of the Black Hammer, The Quantum Age by Jeff Lemire.
What is the Black Hammer?
I've talked about this. You insensitive. Wait, is your mother's name Martha?
No.
Oh, all right. The Black Hammer is the story about a bunch of superheroes that are trapped on a farm in an alternate reality. They can't get out of it. Nothing ages. Girl who has like Shazam's powers is trapped as a little kid, even though she's like
okay.
65.
All right. Yes. All right. I'm with you.
The Quantum Age takes place in their actual universe.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a Legion of Superheroes homage.
That's fun.
Maybe if I liked the Legion of Superheroes, I would have enjoyed this more.
True enough.
But it was 6 issues, and it felt pretty stretched out.
Okay.
So it wasn't as interesting as the Black Hammer proper has been. So I also read Walking Dead 31.
Wow.
Volume 31.
That is a long-running series.
Not much happened. I gave it 2 stars.
I
Probably
saw.
unfair. I'm just
Yeah.
a little like, oh no, the place they're in has a dark secret. Kind of. I've been reading it for 31 volumes. You know,
Is the show still going, Walking Dead?
maybe I think so.
Okay.
I don't think anybody's happy with that though.
Okay.
So he said he was going to be ending this comic soon,
Yeah.
but I feel like that was a false promise.
Well,
They gave me false
Invincible
hope.
just ended. Robert Kirkman's other long-running
Yeah.
series, Invincible.
Well, I read Justice League Dark The Last Days of Magic.
Oh, I liked that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't like it?
I didn't love it.
Okay.
What was it about I didn't like? I don't know.
I thought it was a good use of the characters overall. Like, I
Yeah.
liked Wonder Woman in it.
The characters are fine. I guess it's just they're just so. I don't know how to describe it. The previous like magic-based DC books I used to read when I was younger or growing up and everything, magic was just there and it was just used. It wasn't. The characters in this keep talking about like magic is dying and magic and like it's just very. It's making magic something very concrete.
Okay.
Instead of something a little bit more abstract and wild and like you can do with this. It's just kind of defining it in almost in a midi-chlorian kind of way. For me, anyway. I saw on Goodreads a lot more people like this than myself.
I see. I approached I haven't read a lot of the magical characters, and so I approached it pretty much with a blank slate. So I had a good time.
Yeah, it's probably a good run through for new readers. And I mean, the stuff I'm talking about is a lot older, so it probably needs to be updated.
Okay.
I am starting John Stakely's book Armor, which is a sci-fi military book. I don't know what awards if it won, if any, but it's a pretty famous
Old,
one.
new?
I think.
Oh, it's older.
I think it might be 80s. I could be wrong though. I'd have to check.
I'm from the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, you went right from 1980 to 1989 after doing about like 30 years prior. 3 decades before the 80s.
No.
Just kidding.
36.
I also saw Toy Story 4. Talking about old.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Man, it's more than 20 years since Toy Story 1.
I know. Somebody must be wanting these movies to happen, right?
I guess Toy Story 3, which you haven't seen, so I can't talk too much, was a pretty perfect ending. And almost as perfect as you can get an ending for these Toy Story films. And that was kind of my thing. Like, I don't want to see Toy Story 4. I loved Toy Story 3. It was great. But it was a good time. It was fun. I enjoyed it. The other, like the larger cast of toys from the Toy Story films is kind of not really well, what am I thinking? They're not really used.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you've lost Don Rickles and Jim Varney.
Yeah, you've lost those voices. But the characters just kind of hang out while other stuff is happening. So it's much more of just almost like a Woody solo film, meeting new characters. But it was good. I laughed. I cried a few times, or at least got teary-eyed.
Okay.
You know, let's not. And
you cried.
It was funny. Now this seems like a pretty good ending. We'll see.
Yeah, until Toy Story 5.
This one though kind of leaves it like, boy, they can't do another one, can they? Maybe they can.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves as Duke Kaboom is pretty funny. He's Canada's #1 stuntman action figure. You remember those like toys that have like elbows?
Yeah.
And he's one of those toys with his own motorcycle.
Like the bike riding
So it's pretty funny. Tony Hale, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, we spent the whole movie trying to figure out who Forky was, the spork toy that the little
Tony
girl,
Hale of Veep and Arrested Development fame.
And as soon as we saw his name, it was like, oh, of course, that would have made
Makes
a lot
perfect
more sense.
Yep.
Also, I didn't mark this down, but I watched the first 3 seasons of Silicon Valley.
Oh, okay.
In this past week.
What is that on?
HBO.
HBO.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
comedy?
Yeah, it's a comedy. It's by Mike Judge. Am I saying that right? Beavis and Butthead.
I don't know. Oh, okay.
Office Space. Other things, I think.
Okay.
It's funny, and I think this is intentional, but maybe not with the main characters. The main character, sometimes I'm just like, shut up. He's just like, now we lost $1 million. I'm like, boo-hoo. And it's funny because at the start of the 4th season, they're talking to this guy to get funding. Like, and we can't get funding to scale up, and we can't pay for our servers, so we need funding. And the guy's like, oh, I'm sorry. Is it hard becoming a billionaire? And I'm like, that guy just spoke for me. I appreciate that with his face and his tone. But it is pretty funny. A lot of...
So is it like a 30-minute like sitcom feel, or is it more...
Yeah, it's 30 minutes.
Oh, it is? Okay.
It's serialized, though.
Okay.
I can't remember any of their names. He plays a teacher in Spider-Man Homecoming, and he was on Freaks and Geeks. Now he has long hair and glasses.
Oh, Martin Starr?
Martin Starr is in it. He's in Men in Black 3, 4 as the little alien.
Oh, Kumail Nanjiani?
Yes, he's in there. And the guy who played Gabe on The Office is in there.
Oh, yeah.
T.J.
Okay.
Miller is on there until they kick him off because
Right.
he's also kind of a monster.
Sure.
So
Okay. So
anyway.
good times. Good times.
Yes, it's enjoyable.
Do we have this on
I'm
DVD?
gonna cut that scene where I'm gonna cut that whole segment where I can't remember a single person's name from a show I just watched 3 seasons
Wise.
of.
That's a wise
I don't think I
choice.
can name a single character name
Huh.
either.
Interesting.
So I guess I'm just
Yeah.
bad at paying attention.
Sure.
Yeah. No, we don't have this. I'm
Okay.
gonna cut that out too because I'm falling apart. Take over. I'm
Old
done.
school. All right. Well, I worked the election last week, so this spiked my graphic novel reading a little bit. So I'm going to give you
Did
a
they have
couple
punch?
of the.
Do they have a punch bowl and you run over with your graphic novels?
No, but I'll tell you what. There was
What?
no microwave in my polling place, and that really
Ooh.
through off my food game for the day.
Did you bring food to be microwaved?
to microwave? Yes, I did.
What-
But my wife came and brought me dinner, so I was okay. But yeah,
Do they normally have microwaves?
yeah.
I'm sorry,
It was
man.
usually they're in a fire hall or community room or
Right,
something, and
but nothing.
yeah. This time there was no microwave.
Music?
Anyway, I actually, well, I'll get to it because I did some serious binge watching while I was there.
Soul searching.
Yeah. Anyway, so here's some of the things I read. Han Solo, Imperial Cadet. So this is a graphic novel from our collection. This is set in the new Solo movie continuity during Solo's time as an Imperial Cadet.
I hate this kid's face on this cover.
I
I
agree.
hate that they're
It's
using the new
terrible. I
kid's
know.
face on Solo stuff.
I
I mean,
know.
I guess that makes sense for
Yeah.
synergy,
Yeah.
but I hate
I'm just shocked that they're doing
Yeah.
anything. I read one book that's set in that continuity called Most Wanted. It's a YA, which we have. Ray Carson wrote it. I loved it. I thought it was really good. But I have not liked any of the graphic novels that have spun out of this movie. And this was just drab and colorless, and there's no charm. It was just a real slog. Did you want to make a joke about the Solo movie?
No, I think it
okay.
speaks for itself.
Cool. Flash, Lightning Strikes Twice. This is the first of the Rebirth Flash. Again, we have this whole run in our collection, so come check it out. This was also a bit of a slog. They're trying to sort of bring it in line with the CW TV show, which is not a version of the Flash that I like. I read Iron Man Heart of Steel. This is aimed at a younger grade, and it's just the Iron Man origin story. I read Red-Headed Stranger, a Spider-Man graphic novel that deals with Mary Jane coming back and the villain, the Chameleon, posing as Peter Parker and kind of screwing up his life. So that was
yeah,
fun.
I remember that.
I read Alpha Flight, Volume 1.
Oh, I forgot.
Which was cool. I don't really know much about Alpha Flight. They're Canadian superheroes, and in this one, they're kind of on the outs with the official government, so they're sort of
Yeah.
like a rogue superhero team.
Oh.
Really enjoyed it. I read Wolverine First Class, The Rookie. This is where Wolverine
You didn't
takes
send me any of these.
Kitty Pryde under his wing. Well, you read that too, right? Must be in yours.
I'm saving it.
Okay. Wolverine First Class Rookie is where he takes Kitty Pryde under his wing. And then I read Spider-Man Silver Surfer, which is a misnomer, everyone. This is in our collection. It's 4 issues. 2 of them are Fantastic Four stories with the Silver Surfer. One of them is Galactus, which has neither Silver Surfer or Spider-Man. And one is a one from the 60s that does contain both Spider-Man and Silver Surfer. So very
You read the
Spider-Man
physical
light.
copy.
I did.
Because I've been reading them on my Marvel Unlimited app.
Okay.
And so I don't get the reprints.
I see.
So I think Wolverine First Class also includes like X-Men reprints.
Oh, I see.
And because I was reading on the app. I didn't
Okay.
get-
No, this was actually just 1 through 4.
Okay.
Just 1 through 4 of the first series.
Oh.
The last, I think, 5 that I mentioned there, written by Fred Van Lent. And the reason why we're boning up on some of his past work is because Fred's going to be joining us on our podcast next
Fred.
week as we discuss the character of Spider-Man, which he's had a long association with, as well as many, many other things. Worked on Hulk, Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Spider-Man. Got a new series coming out right now. We'll dig into all that next week. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I had a pretty good run with these graphic novels overall. I enjoyed them.
I'm still reading a bunch.
Okay.
He created the character Scorpion, not the Spider-Man villain, but like I think tangentially related to the Hulk.
Oh, okay.
In that she, but
That
she
sounds
has
familiar.
like scorpion sting powers on her hands. She's kind of like a secret agent
Was she in
ninja
the
type.
Was she in the Incredible Hercules run at all?
Yes,
that he did.
She showed up.
Okay,
once or
yes,
twice, I think.
because I did read that forever ago. But anyway,
Well, I think it's his character, so I think he brings it along. He brings her along
yeah, that
whenever
makes
he's
sense.
writing stuff.
That
so.
makes sense. Anyway, join us next week for our Spider-Man Spotlight with author Fred Van Lent. I finished a couple of novels. I finished Rough Beasts of Empire by David R. George III. This is part of the Star Trek series, the Typhon Pact. This was not good. This was dumb.
Is Typhon.
This was basically
typhoon.
just, it felt like deleted scenes that were rightfully deleted. So
Is that
This is-
Spock's dad
who?
on the cover?
No, it's Spock and Ben Sisko from Deep Space Nine.
That is an elderly Spock.
It is. This is, if you're following this series at all, or if you ever plan to, you could skip this without missing a beat.
Wow.
And then I finished The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James. So this is our YA for Adult book club. We're going to be discussing this book later in the month, and we're going to have Lauren James on the show. We're going to interview her about Loneliest Girl in the Universe and some of her other books. Now, I've been hogging the copy, so you haven't read this yet, right?
That's right.
I think you're going to like it. It moves quickly. And it's a good plot. Basically, it's a little scary at times.
It is?
Just a little bit.
I was just joking.
Just a little bit.
Oh, no.
Just a little bit. It's about a colony ship that NASA sends, to start Earth 2, basically.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a generation on this ship. And something happens that leaves one teenage girl as the only person on this colony ship. And she's just there for the foreseeable future.
One might say she's a passenger.
She's the loneliest girl in the universe.
Yeah.
Anyway, YA book, very good. We have it on audio and in hardcover. So if you haven't read it, read it, and then join us for the book club, which is going to be the 25th, I believe, and end of July. Yeah, July 25th. And you can tune into the podcast featuring the author, Lauren James, and we're going to be doing that one probably the very last, second to last week of July. We're going to be talking to Lauren. That's it for me book-wise. I did a few other things that I wanted to mention before we move on. While I was working the election, we had big slow down periods, and I binge watched the entire last season of Veep.
The whole last season?
The whole last season.
Nice.
So
season 6.
Yeah, that's the second to last.
Yeah.
So I've totally finished the show. If you haven't watched this show, I feel like you got to run out and do it. It's just so clever, and Julie Louis-Dreyfus is just amazing in this. We were just talking about this the other day. The way she moves from Seinfeld to The New Adventures of Old Christine to Veep, playing really hilarious characters in completely different ways. She manages to sort of reinvent herself and portray a character in a totally different light that's still hilarious and still very compelling to watch. And I think with Veep, if you're not familiar with the story, she starts out as the vice president, a very nobody wants to talk to the vice president, sort of true to life. And she is just sort of an ugly and unlikable character who is somehow likable, and you still kind of root for her, even though she is the absolute worst. So she just manages to sell this show. It's 7 seasons.
I don't know. I've gotten to the 6th season, and now I'm not really rooting for her anymore.
Well, yeah.
6th season, I've just been like, I don't want her to win.
Yeah,
this
it's
would be
true.
bad for everybody.
It's true. But it's still, it stays so compelling, and I think it's a very difficult show to end, but I think they did it just right.
All
right. Catch up on Veep if you haven't done that already. And I saw the movie Booksmart, directed by Olivia Wilde. We saw this in theaters, and it was hilarious.
Did you do this for bragging rights? Because everybody's saying go see Booksmart, but nobody's going to see Booksmart.
No.
So
Oh, really? It's got such good reviews.
It does, but it's kind of bombing.
Oh, well, we did see it in
office-wise.
the cheapy movies.
Yeah.
So,
And everybody's like,
theaters.
oh, modern theaters are ruining everything.
Well, it was actually very funny.
Yeah.
It was to me, I was watching this and it was like if Lady Bird and Superbad had like a love child, it would be Booksmart. I feel like, because
this
it has
directed by Olivia Wilde.
Olivia Wilde, yeah.
So I didn't know she was directing.
I feel like this is her first thing. She's not in it.
She directed the Dark Necessities music video for the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Interesting.
But I didn't realize she was directing
I guess
movies.
she cut her teeth with the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
Jason Sudeikis was in it.
Oh, okay.
Who's her husband.
Yeah. Would I know any of these two actresses that are on the poster?
I don't know. One of them was also in Lady Bird.
Oh.
And the other is on that, I don't think she is anymore, but the other was on that Tim Allen show, Last Man Standing. She played the youngest daughter on that.
No,
that was the only place
I
I was
noticed the Lady Bird character now.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. So anyway, it was hilariously funny. So if you have a chance, I'd go and see that.
Was this rated R?
It was.
Yeah.
And it earned that R rating. Let me tell you what. So does Veep, for that matter.
It's about two girls that spent their whole high school time just being book smart and chasing grades and everything.
And then they kind of find out that everybody's going to college and
Right.
they kind of wasted their time. So they've got just like a short window to go and have fun. And so they do.
All right.
So it's a great cast. It's just a very funny movie.
Okay.
And then we also, can we roll our little segment?
Oh, you want to play the segment?
Can we do that?
Okay, hold on, everybody. We are about to play a segment. That's the starting page. That's a different segment. I'm just going to delete that picture. Boop. You
Well,
know what?
anyway.
You don't need to be hearing this.
Okay.
Explain to them what they're going to be listening to.
So over the weekend, my brother Stephen, who's been one of our guest hosts many times here, he and I went to see the Marshall Tucker Band over at Trout Run right here in Wellsville. It was Zor and the Marshall Tucker Band, and we recorded little segments before and after, so you can tune in and hear about our experience over at the Trout Run, and you can check out the Greatest Hits and Carolina Dreams by the Marshall Tucker Band, which we have right here in the collection at the David A. Howe Public Library.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready to roll?
Yeah, I'm just getting this picture. Listen, everybody, it's not. These things aren't easy.
Nobody thinks they
You
are.
can't just make magic happen
No.
like this. Also, I can't just download pictures off of Twitter. I'm apparently finding. Maybe if I copy. Let's try this. This is just going to end with people saying, "Did you restart it? Turn it on and off." You know what? I'm just going to play the thing, and we're just going to deal with it.
Okay.
Deal with it, everybody.
Let's do it.
This is where I am today.
All right, well, I'm coming to you live here from Trout Run out in Wellsville. I'm with one of our frequent guest hosts, Mr. Stephen VanValkenburg. Stephen, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
It's been such a long time since you've been in the show. What was the last time?
Wow, my gosh, has it been anything since James Patterson?
Oh, no, well, that broke your brain, so...
I'm still recovering as we speak.
I believe you are. Steve and I are here at Trout Run in Wellsville. We're getting ready to see Zor and the Marshall Tucker Band. Now, I've never heard Zor before. Have you?
No, I haven't.
But,
They're good, though.
Yeah, and of course, we're both big fans of Music Alley, so we've seen Rick in there many times and have purchased many things from there.
Many things.
In fact, we each have an album of the Marshall Tucker Band from Music Alley. All right, so we're...
Hello, everybody.
That's right. Steve, how familiar were you with Marshall Tucker Band before this?
Not overtly. They did have one song I really like called Can't You See that
yeah.
I've heard throughout my life, but
Yep.
it didn't really quite attach to anything, but I've always liked that one.
Yeah, I'm about the same. I knew that one. I knew Heard It a Love Song, and basically the hits. But I was pretty excited to see him right here in Wellsville. This is my first time at Trout Run, my first time seeing Zor, and of course my first time seeing Marshall Tucker. Are you excited?
I am. It's a good atmosphere, a lively crowd. Seems like it'll be a good time.
Absolutely. All right, well, Zor's just about to start, so we're going to stop talking. We'll check back in after Zor, and then again after the Marshall Tucker Band. Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.
All right, Zor just wrapped up. They had one broken snare drum that they had to fix mid-show, so that proves it was a good show, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
I mean, if they're
Any
breaking...
measurable standard, I'd say that's a good...
Yeah, once instruments have actually been broken, you know that there's some hard rock happening. I was really impressed with them overall.
Yeah, me too.
Like I said, it's the first time that I'd heard them, but I thought that they did a really nice job layering in originals and like popular covers, and I thought the originals just sat really well with them.
They did. They were compelling on their own, even in addition to the ones that everybody knows and loves. They stood their own pretty well.
Absolutely. They tried out some new material here too, which I appreciated. So yeah, I thought they were amazing musicians, like each of them.
Yeah, the guitar playing was incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, the drum, he broke the drum, so
He broke the drum.
I really like the Stones cover. They did a Stones. I like the Tom Petty cover too, and I wasn't really familiar with that song.
Oh yeah, that's an old favorite of mine. American Girl by Tom Petty, always a classic.
Nice.
They also did Hard to Handle, which is always a crowd favorite.
Who's that?
Let's see. It's Black Crowes, I believe.
Okay.
That's a pretty good one.
Nice. Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, these hometown boys, and I was really impressed with them. So.
Yeah, me too. If you like a good classic, almost southern rock mixed with a nice country vibe, these are your guys right there.
Yeah, but they were really pretty versatile too. You
Yeah.
know, they covered a lot of different styles and genres, and I thought they switched among those different genres pretty easily.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, so now we're just kind of chilling, hoping the weather holds. So we had a little droplet of rain here and there, but skies are looking clear. It's pretty packed, wouldn't you say?
I'd say so. Everybody's here to have a good time.
We got here nice and early and got a decent spot here. And we also discovered that Steve has been in an episode since James Patterson.
Yeah, sorry to mislead you all.
That's
I
right.
was there for the Jack Reacher spotlight.
Yeah, episode 116, if you want to go back and view that, soundcloud.com/allthebooks. And we do have Marshall Tucker Band albums in the library collection, so if you weren't able to make the concert tonight, you can check those out. Maybe Steve and I will check them out afterwards.
Sounds like a plan to me.
All right, Marshall Tucker Band coming up. We'll check in again afterwards. Thanks, everybody. Well, Steve, we did it.
Yes, we did.
So we just finished Marshall Tucker Band. We're in Steve's truck. We're heading home. Steve, what's your takeaway?
I think it's good to hear some songs that I knew but wanted to know more of. and hear him in a live setting where the energy was all there and made it more accessible, I'd say.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think my major complaint would be I don't like in concerts when songs devolve into just a super long jam. How do you like that?
No, I'm not a big fan of that either. In certain spots, it can be useful as a good tool to get the crowd motivated for really like feeling the vibe of the song, but when you do it frequently and not with enough variation, it loses its edge for me.
Yeah, I agree. And it's sort of, kind of every song did that, don't you think?
You kind of got to pick and choose when you do things like that, but it was just number after number was an extra 5 minutes of guitar playing, which was, it was good guitar playing, but it's just, at a certain point, it loses some of its, luster.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Chris Hicks on guitar was the standout for me in that band, don't you think?
I'd say so. There was a song he did called Dog Eat Dog World that I found particularly enjoyable that I did not know. But.
Yeah, I didn't really know that one either. But like I said earlier, we have their greatest hits in our collection, and we have Carolina Dreams. Carolina Dreams is a great album, don't you think?
Yeah, that one's pretty solid all the way through.
And the greatest hits, actually quite a few from Carolina Dreams are on the greatest hits. But I'll tell you, it made me want to go and listen to the greatest hits again because I do really like a lot of those songs. But I've got a controversial statement here, Steve.
Lay it on me.
I think it was Zora's Night.
I would say so. That was a pleasant surprise. You never know how much to expect from an opening act, but they delivered. They were solid. They were entertaining. They were funny. They had a good mix of covers and originals, and they're very entertaining, I'd say.
Yeah, I think the history of the Marshall Tucker Band, like that sort of wins out in that way because it was really neat to see that like live up there on the stage. But I think as far as like song for song, how much was I enjoying myself? I would give it to Zor.
I would too. It's nice because you have Marshall Tucker Band, which has such a longevity, and it's good to see a part of music history, like in person. But as far as just straight entertainment, I was really in for Zor the whole time.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I do recommend the Marshall Tucker Band. Like I said, stop into the library and check out the greatest hits or Carolina Dreams or any other one we can get for you. Or they're also available on Freegal, so you can download or listen to them that way with your library card. Overall, I had a good experience at Trout Run, don't you think?
I would say so too. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, and it worked pretty well to have a concert just out in the field like that under the sky. We're a little scared about rain here and there, but no problems.
Nope, went right away.
Yep. All right. Well, Steve, thanks for joining me for this special off the books segment here as we explore Trout Run and listen to Zor and Marshall Tucker Band. You can check out both online, and we have lots of CDs right in the library. So, thanks, Steve.
My pleasure.
Okay, we're back. Well, wait. Okay, now we're back.
Okay. Well, thanks again to my little brother for joining us on a little off the beaten path episode that we did there. What you don't hear in that is shortly after we recorded that while driving home, his truck started billowing smoke, and we got stuck on the side of the road, limped a little farther, then got stuck again, and had to call around to try to get somebody to come and rescue us.
Why didn't you record that stuff?
Yeah, I guess we should have.
That's the good stuff.
It was more stressful. It was only like the second day he'd had that truck, and so it was a bit of a stressor.
Yeah.
But we did it. We made it home.
Good.
All right. So you want to move over to some book news, see what's going on in the New York Times bestseller list?
Yeah. Well, no, we're gonna skip the New York Times bestsellers list this week.
Ooh, mixing things up.
We're running long and nothing's changed, but we do have some book news.
That happens.
And that I was just complaining about. I thought Walking Dead was supposed to end soon. Oh.
Yeah.
So the comics that I just read in The Walking Dead Volume 31 were issues 181 through 186, and apparently tomorrow's issue, number 193. Is the last issue of The Walking Dead.
Oh, they're going to end 7 issues away from 200?
I thought the same thing.
Oh, my
that
gosh.
Is, why would you do that? Just write one more
Hold on.
arc.
I'm going to throw up.
193. So,
wow.
Imagine if we had ended the podcast at episode 193.
You can't do it.
And then we're like, no, we almost made 200
You can't
episodes.
do it.
Every day, every other time you talk to somebody who's like, yeah, we almost made 200
Yeah,
episodes.
almost. Oh, did you? No, but
not really.
you can imagine what it would be like if we did.
So, but there you go.
All right.
I got one more trade, I guess, to read of Walking Dead.
I guess you do.
I'm ready.
You're ready.
Oh, yeah.
You're ready to be released.
This isn't one of those things
It's like a long-running show where you're just sort of like, look, I've got so many years invested into this show. I've got to see it through. I can't stop now. Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, I've been reading each one of them as they come out, but yeah, it has definitely been.
How long has this series been going?
2004?
That's a long time.
5?
That's a long time.
2006. Nope. 2004.
Okay.
Look, I
Just a font of
started
knowledge
reading
today.
it
I love
when the trade for Volume 2 was out.
Oh, okay.
So,
So you got in on the ground floor.
almost.
Good for you.
Yeah, so I bought the first 2 trades, and then I just kept buying them for a while, and then I started...
Do you
What?
count? I mean, I guess technically you have to count zombie stories as science fiction, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I guess it just feels zombies to me sort of feels like its own subset.
I guess it depends. Like,
Yeah.
I don't watch George A. Romero's zombie films as sci-fi
As
films. I
sci-fi,
watch those
right.
as just zombie film.
What about like
horror.
World War Z?
The book, yeah, I think is sci-fi because it's more post-apocalyptic,
Mm-hmm.
and the zombie has passed and everything.
Right.
But I think zombies the subgenre of its own of horror. So I think you can have sci-fi elements in it.
That's true. It always gets tricky when we're trying to decide if a book should go in sci-fi or not,
Yeah.
because because you say horror and that makes me think of like vampires and werewolves and things like that's more horror than sci-fi, but sometimes it really is straddling the line of where you want to put it.
Yeah, I think with that stuff. Yeah, I think it becomes like urban fantasy.
Yeah.
with like werewolves and vampires.
That makes sense.
but-
Or something like magic, like the Dresden Files. Would you
Yeah.
put the Dresden Files as sci-fi?
No, they go in the fantasy.
Fantasy.
Urban fantasy is its own subgenre of fantasy.
Right.
Like the
Complicated.
magic in the world that we live in.
Yeah.
It's just happening like in back alleys.
Okay.
In subway cars.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, today we're going to be talking about science fiction stories.
basement bars.
Okay.
That's Rush's subdivision.
Okay. Well,
be cool or be
I
cast out.
think we both knew that I wasn't going to get that reference.
Oh,
but
yeah.
anyway, summer reading programs in full swing. Universe of stories. Here we go. Science
Space.
fiction. The Final Frontier.
No, it's just. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We posed this question to our listeners, and we got quite a bit of feedback. So we probably not going to get to all of it, but we're going to mention some of your favorites as well as some of ours. So Eric and I have.
Say Smars.
I did say it weird. We've settled on doing a top 3.
That's
Between
right.
the two of us. My top 3, your top 3.
Yeah.
I had a few honorable
Oh, you
mentions
know what?
I might
I
drop out
prepared
there.
your top 3 as well. I prepared my top 3 and what I think
my
is your top 3. Yeah.
I actually would
Yeah.
kind of be interested to know what you think my top 3 would be.
All right. Book number 1.
Don't say the ones I just told you.
A Life by Paul
All right.
McCartney.
He doesn't have it, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't have it. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna stick to our top 3. I have a couple honorable mentions that I'm gonna get one of the honorable mentions out of the way right now, and that is Battlefield Earth by Mr. L. Ron Hubbard. The reason why I'm not putting this in my top
You
is
love this book and movie. Nick loved the movie more than anything.
I hated that
think.
movie. I hated that movie. I truly believe that is the worst movie I've ever seen. We talked about it on Eric's podcast, 3 Nice Things, where the whole purpose was to try to come up with nice things to say about Battlefield Earth, and that is about as pleasant as trying to do like knee surgery in a battlefield. It was awful.
That wasn't very hard.
It was. We do a deep dive into this book in episode 194, so I'm not going to talk about it much now.
Boy,
But
don't we?
But this book is.
It was like we were sitting around the fire.
Yeah.
And Nick was the wizened old storyteller.
this was
After we just
passing
had
down an oral tradition.
our woolly mammoth, Nick is like, "Come, my children,
Yeah.
hear the story of Barry Pepper."
Yeah, but listen,
Johnny Goodboy.
it's a crazy book, but there's a lot of interesting things going on. The character dynamics
Yep.
are really compelling. Even the dumb villain that Travolta played is a good character. Their relationship is unique.
You
It's-
think you have leverage on
It's
me?
1,000 pages, and the movie makes you think it's terrible, but it's not, and it's fun, and you should read it if you can stand the 1,000 pages. So that's my honorable mention. That's not in my top 3. But ultimately, I reviewed that with a 3-star because there's a lot in there where you think, oh, that's dumb, but so much good is going for it that it kind of carries you through. You know, you don't feel the weight of the 1,000 pages. Anyway, why don't we do a listener response? You got one? You got one you want to share?
Mike, let's see.
I know.
No, here we go.
You'd think after 200 episodes I would learn don't throw things to Eric that
Just
he's not
randomly,
expecting.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sem Marketer, at Sem Marketer.
Twitter.
On Twitter, said Ender's Game. The book. I love the book Ender's Game. Nick
Oh,
doesn't.
come on.
Nick's childlike whimsy was destroyed very young as a small toddler. But
we did this for a sci-fi book club
way before I showed up.
Yeah, my very first year here, one of the first book clubs, and no one came. No one
It's
came.
not the book's fault. Nobody comes to anything.
No, usually they do come to, especially then. Book clubs were happen in. And that it was the first time I tried to get a little sci-fi in there,
Mm-hmm.
and people weren't having it. It was actually part of my first summer reading program here.
Ender's Game has retroactively become a young adult book,
Yeah.
so I'm a little bummed by that. But
Really? It's such a childish book. I mean,
you're a childish son of a babe.
I mean, the only characters you follow are like 11 years old, and they say fart every 5 seconds.
Well, that's how kids talk.
So it's a YA
Were you
novel. That's
11
what
and
I'm
you didn't say the
no,
word
I'm
fart?
just saying, like, I think Ender's Game is a YA novel.
Mhm.
I don't know that it's like retroactively become anything. It just seemed like
The book's very good. But Nick disagrees.
you know what? No. I fully admit that I'm in the minority here of people who have read this book and hated it, but
Speaker for the
hated
Dead.
it. I did.
Speaker for the Dead, the sequel, is as different as a sequel can be, and I really like that one as well. So,
Wow.
I haven't read any other series.
Okay.
The Xenocide, I think, is like the third of this like unofficial trilogy.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for this guy on Twitter trolling me. All right, let me do one of my top 3.
Okay.
And I'm not going to do in any particular order.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first one that I want to talk about is called On Basilisk Station by David Weber. So this is what?
Not one you sent me.
Yes, it is.
No.
Okay. This is by David Weber. It's the first of the Honor Harrington books. It is. It follows Honor Harrington. It's sort of on her first command, and she gets tossed in this ship, and there's a lot of like political intrigue in these books. It's a long-running series. It's continuing to this day. It's expanded beyond David Weber and includes some other writers like Timothy Zahn, for example, coming in sort of writing within the Honor verse. But this is the one that kicks it all off. And I don't think that it's one that, like, if you read this first book, you have to keep reading it forever. You don't. So I think that it's compelling because Honor as a character
Is this the first book, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
the
haven't
first
read a
book.
single one of these.
Really?
But I know people who have.
Yeah,
read
I
many.
probably read, my friend Jesse, who joined us for the Timothy Zahn episode, is a huge fan of these. And when he was moving somewhere, and he was like, here, take these, read them, you'll like them. So he gave me a big stack. And I read probably 5 or 6. And when you meet Honor in the first book, a lot of her thing is that she's just sort of like, she's coming from a humble place. As a character, she's sort of like, she's confident and she's firm, but she's not like overly ambitious. She's not like, oh, I'm the greatest thing ever. But that aspect of her character becomes just intolerable over the course of the series, because it's by the when I finally gave up, I read one where it was basically Honor could do literally anything, like anything. One of it was she'd never picked up a sword in her life and had to defeat this planet's master swordsmith. And spoiler alert, she does it handily. And she's like, oh, I'm not so great. It's so this like false modesty and like false humility, it just like drips off of her, which is really unfortunate. And I think it's probably good that as the series progressed, other hands have sort of gotten to work with this character, because I think it's one of those situations where, like, without much editing or outside input, it's hard to kind of keep that character realistic.
Right.
So that's a little bit more about the series as a whole that I wanted to get into. But the point is, on Basilisk Station, that's a hard word to say, Basilisk Station is really an excellent book, because she's kind of tossed into the deep ends of things. And it does a good job of managing her relationship with somebody who should have gotten, on paper, should have gotten the promotion that she got. And so they have kind of an adversarial relationship from the beginning. You have these 2 huge political factions going on. And then you have Honor and her ship, the Fearless, just kind of trapped in the middle of all this. And she has to figure it out. She has to work her way through in a way that will keep her crew safe and not make all of these political machinations that are happening in the background just explode. So she's walking a very fine line, and it's really just kind of up to her and her judgment to make this work. And so it makes her a really relatable character, and it makes like the stress of that feel very real. It doesn't brush that off. That's part of it, that she's in this impossible situation, and yet she still has to keep like doing her job. So it's very good. It's very good. Don't be daunted by the fact that it's like a 12-book series, because this book absolutely stands alone. So read it, and if you like it, you can stop right there. If you like it and want to know more, you can continue on, because the series will never end. So
yeah, I don't know if it's still the case now, but I think for a long time, like, this was the one people read as a space, like the space opera in town.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know when maybe that. I mean, Leviathan Wakes probably was chasing after that a little bit. And they put him out as much, but I mean, people still talk about Honor Harrington a lot.
Yeah.
So,
I'm surprised.
how many books are there total? Do you know offhand?
Well, it's kind of
So
hard.
many.
It's hard to track because there are the straight up Honor series, and
Uh-huh.
then there's a lot that are set in the Honor verse. So I mean, with just her book, let me see if I can get that.
Is the
here.
first one called One Honor and the second one called
No,
Two?
but they use. I feel like they named her Honor just to have that pun every time. In the straight up Honor Harrington series, you have On Basilisk Station, which began in 1992, and then the most recent one was Uncompromising Honor, which came out just last year, October 2018. And you have a whole series. You have the Worlds of Honor anthologies, the Crown of Slaves series,
Yeesh.
the Saganami Island series,
Oh.
the Star Kingdom series,
Yeah.
the Manticore Ascendant series. So this is
Many.
This is a rich tapestry of Honor Harrington stories. But again, this one you can pick up and easily read by itself, and it doesn't leave you hanging. It's a very satisfying read. So that is the first on my list.
Okay.
Let's do a user response. Let's see what we've got here.
You got one on Facebook?
Pop over on Facebook. Karen Canfield Maskins says The Giver by Lois Lowry. This is not a series that I've read.
Oh.
Have you read?
It's another YA one.
No, I know
Maybe
it is.
even slightly younger
I'm familiar.
one. Yeah, I guess it is technically
Mm-hmm.
sci-fi. Nobody can feel emotions except for one person,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
so he
wow.
can experience the world's history,
Yikes.
so they can stop.
My wife read this like as a child, and
Oh.
it like broke her. She was
Oh.
is so sad about it. And there's more in this series. And not too long ago, I was like, "Oh, here, maybe if you read the sequel, you'll feel better about it." She's like, "Get it away,
Right.
get it away from me." So no, I have not read this series, but you?
I mean, I've read the first book.
Okay.
And that's it.
Wasn't there a movie that no one cared about?
Yeah, with Taylor Swift in it. Jeff Bridges.
Taylor Swift,
Yeah.
like the
No, she wasn't the kid.
Okay.
She was like the love interest.
Oh.
Or maybe a bully. I haven't seen the movie.
okay.
Jeff Bridges was the giver.
Oh, all right.
I liked the book a lot. I only read it a few years ago, so
Oh,
as
okay.
a 25-year-old,
Mhm.
and really liked it.
That
But
was more than a few years ago. But.
oh man, I am. I'm so freaking old. It was 7 years ago.
Okay, well, thank you, Karen, for sharing that one with us.
No,
Here-
it was 8 years ago.
Oh, boy. Eric's aging in front of our very eyes. Give me one of your top three, buddy.
All right. I'm gonna say Canticle. Oh man, hold on. I got nothing's working. All right. A Canticle for Leibowitz by Walter M. Miller Jr., which is a story about the world is basically becoming a nuclear holocaust. A couple of a sect of like Catholic monks are collecting like as much knowledge of the world they can
okay.
to keep it safe.
Yeah.
And so it's told in 3 different times. There's like the beginning where they find a bunker that's full of information and blueprints and everything. And the second part is where they're thinking about getting ready to share the information with the world. Maybe the world is slowly getting back to the point where they can have this knowledge. And then the third part is everything, society's back together, but a nuclear war is about to break out again. So now they're getting their information, and it's been a while. I think they head to space at the end.
That sounds heavy.
It is heavy.
Dense.
But it's good. It's one of those things where it's so strange, but at the same time, I found it very compelling and moving. And it's one of those books where I don't know if Miller Jr. is going for this, but it's the spiritualness of it. It's kind of just universal, where like the spiritualness is more just about like humans and their achievements and like protecting the history of humanity from ourselves, I guess. But it lends it all to kind of a spiritual, like, I don't know, we're all one people, but we're also going to screw everything up kind of thing. So I found it, it's stuck with me. So yeah,
okay.
it's interesting.
Right.
But
I
it's
think
also
we
very
have that.
weird.
We have that in collection here.
We do, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an older one, and I don't think he ever wrote anything else. I'm
Really?
not entirely sure. Oh,
Interesting.
nope, it says he wrote other stuff.
Ooh, what a turnaround that was.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a weird one, but I really like it. So
Okay.
Yeah.
You got another user response to listener response? I should say.
So at Detroit Princess says the Foundation series
Oh, Asimov.
is most excellent.
I've
by
never read that.
Isaac Asimov.
Yeah.
No, you read Robot.
I did.
Caves
yeah.
of Steel.
Caves of Steel. I read that, and I read a collection called Bicentennial Man, which I really liked. I really liked those short stories.
The first I've read the first 3 Foundation books.
Okay.
So that's another one that's like the kind of looking at like human history in a very grand scope. So
Earlier, when we were doing the sci-fi book club, the first one we did, the robot one, one of the regulars from that book club was saying that as much as he liked the robot one, he thought the Foundation series was like the pinnacle for Asimov.
yeah, I find the Foundation series to be kind of dry.
I've picked it up a time or two and just thought, I don't think so.
It's very much like, and then on the 4th age, space was still vast.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things
But
like
the
either
darkness
you.
of space could not hold out the light of humanity. But
I
the
think
stars.
either you can get in there and roll with that, or
Yeah.
you can't. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
just sort of like, what your tastes are.
It's
But-
weird to think that the writer was so impartial to his own story. He was like, I gotta make sure this is very unbiased.
Yeah.
So no emotions.
All right. Okay, so my next one in my top 3 is Invasion of the Body Snatchers by Jack Finney. And if you're a longtime listener, I'm sure you've heard me talk about Jack Finney before because I do it frequently. Jack Finney's my all-time favorite author. He's known for Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Most of his things were made into movies in the 50s and 60s, including the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which has been made into 3 or 4 movies at this point.
4 movies,
I
I
think so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Whatever Nicole Kidman's version was called.
The Invasion.
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig. Actually, a pretty good adaptation.
Yeah.
The one from the 50s with Kevin McCarthy is excellent. I really think that's the best, though. The Donald Sutherland Leonard Nimoy one from the 70s, I want to say, is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. But this book, I mean, if you're not familiar with the story, because it's sort of classic.
I
but
mean,
then
even Bugs Bunny did an episode.
yeah, it's one I think that sort of transcended. It's just become like, it's one of the pod people. It's just kind of a thing that is kind of entered
that Bugs
the cultural.
Bunny episode was the first time I ever came across. Do you remember that one?
No.
Like the carrots are there, and like Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam and someone else. They're all like body snatched. And Bugs has to figure out what's happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Interesting.
It always kind of creeped me out as a kid.
The book, I think it suffers a little bit from the fact that it is such a pop cultural touchstone that people just sort of know, maybe familiar with the movies.
Yeah.
That I think sometimes it gets relegated to just like The Crawling Hand or one of those B grade horror movies from the 50s and 60s. And it's just not that at all. We have the book here in our collection, but of course you can get it anywhere. What the book does so well is it takes this premise, which is kind of, I don't know, I mean, it's kind of goofy that, these giant pods show up and just replace the people and they go on and live their lives. What the book does so well is it really firmly puts your main characters in a way that you really feel pulled along in this story. You feel like you're one of the gang of people who know it. And it's able to build up so much suspense because anytime the characters aren't together, if even momentarily, you just don't know anymore, you don't know who you can trust. And it also brings up a lot of sort of philosophical things too, because as the pods replace people, they're retaining all of the memories. So it's they have all the memories. In a lot of ways, they are the same person, but they are devoid of emotion. So it just causes a lot of, I don't know, it makes you sort of, you're not rooting for the pod people, but it does humanize them in a way that you kind of understand what's going on. And they are not treated as just one-dimensional, straight up villains. They have sort of a compelling backstory, and the things that led them to doing this is an interesting one to kind of pick apart and look at. And it takes some of the tropes and things from that genre and kind of turns it on its side. You have in some of those more melodramatic older sci-fi movies, the B movies, it's just also, the action is just also way up here at the top. You know what I mean? You don't have people acting in a realistic way a lot of times. Where Invasion of the Body Snatchers, they just have some moments where they're like, this is crazy, I'm freaking out, I don't know what to do, like this, what are we going to do about this? You know, they have these really very human, very relatable kind of conversations about this, rather than just being on like high alert and oh no the whole time. Like they have these cool down moments where they're just like, we got to figure this out somehow. And one of my favorite things about the adaptation from the book to the movie is, in the book, two of the characters are trapped. Miles and Becky are trapped in this room, and they've got these pod people all around them, and they know they can't escape, and so they're going to have to like go through them. And Miles is trying to figure out, like, well, maybe if I take one out and I do this, and she's like, well, I mean, there's two of us. I'm not just going to stand in this corner and scream. Like, let's fight these guys. And in the movie, that scene happens, and Miles goes out and fights them while Becky stands in the corner and screams.
Yeah.
It's just funny because, like, the book got it so much better than the movie.
Yeah, the movie
the movie just sort of dialed it back.
Yeah.
But
if you watch the 50s movie, turn it off when he's in the streets yelling that they're here, because
oh, that's true.
they were forced to make another ending for it where in no way does the communist analogy win.
Yeah.
So
it's true. It's true. It is a very clear moment of like, oh, okay, so there's one more scene. Yeah, you're right. It is a stronger ending without that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's Invasion of the Body Snatchers by Jack Finney, but I would also recommend Time and Again as another good sci-fi Jack
Stephen
Finney.
King basically cribbed Body Snatchers for Salem's Lot.
And he also cribbed Time and Again for 11/22/63.
That's right, yeah.
And he's very open about that. Like in the afterward, he's like, I want to thank Jack Finney for, basically giving me these ideas. Yeah, Stephen King's a big Jack Finney fan, as we all should be, because he's excellent. Let me look here. Oh, you know what?
What?
I should have mentioned this earlier.
Okay.
On Facebook, one of our listeners, Travis, also mentioned Ender's Game.
Oh.
What are you going to do?
People like it.
He also mentions Dune.
Mm-hmm.
What's your experience with Dune?
Dune?
Frank Herbert's Dune.
I liked it. I want to reread it sometime.
Reread it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I when I was in college, I bought a little pack at an antique store that had like 3 Dune books in it. And boy, I tried. I sure tried.
Yeah.
I just couldn't go the distance. And that especially was at a time where I was like, I will never stop reading a book. And Dune got me.
Dune is about 75% glossary.
It is. And you need it. You need it. It's like Dune might as well be in a foreign language, I feel like, because maybe I'd feel differently about it now. I mean, I got through Battlefield Earth, right?
That's true. Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, he mentions Ender's Game, Dune, Mechanical Failure, which I'm not familiar with.
Nor I.
The Vagrant, Starship's Mage, and Pillars of Reality.
Ooh.
All good titles. No authors listed, though, and I'm not familiar with any of those. So
Same here.
thank you, Travis, for sharing. And folks, you could do your due diligence, figure it out, and then you can tell us more. All right, what about you? What's number 2 on your list?
Number 2, I'm going to say, is Hyperion by Dan Simmons.
I remember when you read this.
Do you? Oh, yeah. It was at college.
Yeah.
This book was such a shock because if you look at the cover, it's bizarre. It's just a metal, spiky monster piece of armor. It looks like Sauron from Lord of the Rings. There's just a boat out there in a wheat field with mushroom trees in the background. It's with a sherbet sky, and it's a very what is this book cover? But what it is really is it's the Canterbury Tales in a sci-fi setting.
Okay.
So this group of people going on a pilgrimage are sharing their experiences of what brought them to this voyage, and each story is like a different subgenre of sci-fi.
Okay.
So you get a cyberpunk kind of detective story. You get a military sci-fi story. You get this like space opera, and it's very dark. The characters are very flawed, but it's just compelling, and each story really stands on its own. And the first book is so frustrating because it ends before they're getting to the end of their journey. So it's just all their stories.
Okay.
So it's not until the second book do we get to see, what happens when they get there.
Okay.
But the whole second book is like about the fall of like space civilization as it is.
Okay.
And them rebuilding and everything. And that was also very compelling. So,
and sorry, are they interconnected or are they all?
they're interconnected in that they deal with this monster that's on the cover.
I see. Okay.
And that it's led them on this journey.
I think he looks like a nice guy.
No, he kills a lot of people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he kills a lot of people. It's there are interconnections.
Okay.
Because one of the characters is I can't say stuff, but in the second book you find how some of them are more related to each other's stories without even realizing it. But it's good. It's one of those other books that has like stuck with me and kind of like changed my view. Like, oh, this is like a great way to tell, a story.
Okay.
Just be like, I want to tell multiple genres of story in one book. So maybe almost read the Canterbury Tales. I still haven't. So BioShock almost made me read Ayn Rand, but I didn't do that either.
So this is Hyperion by Dan Simmons?
By Dan Simmons, followed by Fall of Hyperion.
Oh, okay.
So I would suggest.
Too bad.
Yeah.
We got a live comment here on the Twitch stream about Dune. User Cheeto Head says, Dune is so good, the later books made it worth it to me. Interesting, because Frank Herbert has a series, and then Kevin J. Anderson picks up the Dune ball and like runs with it for a long time. So there are sort of the core Dune books, and then there's a
New
whole
movie.
world built up around that.
New movie coming out next year?
Yeah.
Or something? It's
coming soon.
Very soon, yeah. The guy who did the new Blade Runner 2049 has been collecting actors and everything. But he's been very snotty about it. He called it Star Wars for adults, at which point I wanted to shove his head into a toilet. So that was it.
For adults.
Yeah. Into a toilet for adults.
Yeah, I understand.
So I guess it'd be more embarrassing if I took him to an elementary school specifically to put his head in an elementary school toilet. Anyway, there you go.
Okay. Do you have another comment here you want to add from the old internet?
Skyhawk says Clay's Ark by Octavia Butler. They shared the book cover. I don't know anything about this book. I've never heard it. They say a genuine sci-fi thriller as hard to stop reading as the Andromeda Strain. So
very first book club I did at the David A. Howe Public Library, ladies and gentlemen. The Andromeda Strain. By Mr. Michael Crichton.
Yeah.
Boy, remember that pervy book Michael Crichton wrote called Odds On that we did for a special episode?
Oh, yeah.
It is
yes.
very sexual, that book.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so let's see. I guess I'm on my last.
This is your last
now.
one?
Okay. So my last book, I kind of was on the fence about this because I think in some ways it's kind of a lame choice. So let me explain myself.
Okay.
It is The Martian by Andy Weir. So
explain yourself.
I love this book. I think it's an exceptionally well-written book. I think it just grabs you right from the start, and you just burn through it because it is so compelling. The character is just... He's just such a normal guy, you know what I mean? He's just kind of just a schlubby guy, like growing poop potatoes and watching Three's Company, you know? He's just... It's so great to have that be, like, the hero of this story. And so I think the writing, it just kind of stands above. I think it really sets itself apart, which is shocking because...
You might like Artemis then.
Because Artemis, also by Andy Weir, is horrible.
Yeah, that's one of the worst books.
That kind of, you usually say that the sophomore effort suffers a little bit, like from the first book, but this was like... This was an insane drop-off. This was like when you step off a pool thinking there's a step there and you're in an Olympic pool that's 12 feet deep.
Right.
That's how deep a plunge it was from The Martian.
He sunk to the bottom of the 12-feet pool.
It was bad.
And then it was filled with poop.
But The Martian is definitely worth the read. And one of the reasons why I ultimately settled on this for my last one is because I think it is such an excellent gateway sci-fi book, because you have a lot of people who just... hear sci-fi and they're like, no thanks. In fact, we got a comment like that when we asked.
Thank you for that.
When we asked about tell us some of your favorite sci-fi stories, and that's not uncommon that people just see sci-fi and are like, nope.
Yeah, I'm sure he enjoyed Matt Damon's film, The Martian.
So I think something like The Martian is, it is legitimate sci-fi on its own. You know what I mean? It's set.
I know what you mean. I'm sorry.
Set in the near future, so it it still feels like our world. It's still very approachable. It's not a Dune situation where you need to learn a whole new vocabulary to read it. It's a simple story that takes good sci-fi elements and puts them in a way that's easily digestible. So, and I don't say that to take away anything from the book. Right. It's not dumbing it down. It's not a simplified version of sci-fi.
No, it's The Martian is very much like hard sci-fi. Where it's like, get ready for numbers, get ready for facts, get ready for
Three's Company.
Calories it takes to do any task.
That's absolutely true. You see it all. It's all on display. But I do think that it is one that has a good cross appeal because whether you're a sci-fi fan or not, I think that you'll find something compelling to read in The Martian. I will say that the film adaptation is probably the most faithful page-to-screen adaptation that I've ever seen. So much so that if you've read and liked the book, there's almost no point in watching the movie.
Yeah, that's true.
When we were watching that in theaters, I was like, I understand that this is
Yeah.
good, but I've just seen it before, you know?
Yep.
So, yeah, that would be my final one here would be The Martian by Andy Weir.
Yeah.
I typically don't like, I don't know how you feel about this kind of thing, but
Oh.
when I was like cultivating a list of sci-fi books I read, I kind of automatically discount like Star Wars, Star Trek, or Quantum Leap, or that kind of thing. Like, I don't really put those in that. Would you? Would you
No.
kind of distinguish
I
between?
guess you could put Star Trek. Star Wars is very far from like legitimate sci-fi.
Yeah.
I mean, it is in terms of like when you get to like the alien species and like their races and like their all that stuff. That's very sci-fi. But when you're also doing the Force and magic,
it's
and
more of a
explosions
fantasy,
in
more of a
space.
fantasy
Yeah,
vibe. Yeah, I do. I mean, I've definitely read.
I've always thought of it as science fantasy.
Yeah. And I think with Star Trek, you have a lot. There's a lot of Star Trek books out there that I think really fit comfortably with sci-fi, like the plots and the things that you're going through.
Like
sit
the
really
Joe
well with
Haldeman
other
Star
sci-fi.
Trek.
Yeah, exactly. World Without End by Joe Haldeman is a great example. That is a sci-fi novel that you just want more of. You know what I mean? Like the confines of Star Trek make it so like, no. Tell us more about this world you've created. And then you have other ones that are really more focused on the characters, and I wouldn't necessarily put on a list. Probably if I had to pick a Star Trek book, it would be World Without End by Joe Haldeman. But Vonda McIntyre's The Entropy Effect is probably my favorite Trek book of all time. And that has the standard, space sci-fi elements that you would expect from Star Trek, but it also has an excellent sci-fi plot that is both compelling and a little dark at times. So yeah, if you were going to pick up one and were a big sci-fi fan, I would say World Without End by Joe Haldeman or Entropy Effect by Vonda McIntyre.
And Vonda McIntyre, a big name in sci-fi as well.
Absolutely.
Recently passed.
Absolutely, yes. Let's see. We've got a few more comments here.
All right.
I'm going to choose one. Let's see. Tina on Facebook says Feed by M.T. Anderson. Now, you're familiar with this one, right?
No, this is a different Feed.
Oh.
You're thinking of you're right that I read a sci-fi book called Feed about a bunch of bloggers dealing with the zombie apocalypse.
This is not that.
Political campaign. I hated it so much. That might be one of the worst books I've ever read.
Okay, but what is this then?
Unknown to this guy
okay.
over here.
So the one you're talking about, was that a series or was it just
it was like 3 books. I did not read the others.
You didn't go the distance.
No.
Was it just too like political for you, or
No, it wasn't the politics. It was just it was so boring and dumb, and it was very much like bloggers are gonna change the world. You can't shut up the bloggers. It annoyed me.
Okay.
It was made. It felt like it was made so that bloggers would blog about the book.
I see.
And then get more. It was gross.
Well,
I hated it.
And that is not what we're talking about here. Tina's suggestion, Feed by M.T. Anderson, is a young adult novel. Was a finalist for the National Book Award in 2002. Won several awards, including the Golden Duck Award for Hal Clement Award for Young Adult. But this is in a nutshell, identity crisis, consumerism, and star-crossed teenage love in a futuristic society where people connect to the internet via feeds implanted in their brains.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just do it already. Gosh.
Yeah.
I don't care who does it at this point. Just put.
You're gonna sign up? You're gonna
just
get one?
put cybernetics in my brain.
Okay.
Just do it. Just stop talking about it.
Don't have to yell. You don't have to yell at me. I'm right here and I'm listening to you.
Who's in charge of Apple right now?
Oh, I don't know.
Get them. I'm gonna scream in their face until
Hold
they
on.
put.
Roger, can you give us the number 3, your last?
Yeah, I thought about this one in the same way you thought about yours, mainly because this is newer, and there's a lot of other books that I really like, but Station 11 has stuck with me, and I picked the other ones were older that I picked, so I decided to choose one of my newer favorite ones.
Also a book club selection that we did together a few years back.
And I was one of the only ones who liked it.
Yeah, you were.
Station 11 is also a post-apocalyptic story after a virus goes and kills out a lot of humanity, or at least a lot of North America. No, the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are pockets of survivors.
And it seemed like a book maybe I wouldn't really like. The writing style is very poetic, even though it's prose all the way through. It's not poetry, but there's something about it that's very there's stuff in it that's very beautiful, and it's usually depressing, like talking about the landscape and like a dead New York being covered in snow and all of this stuff, and it just kind of left me slightly more hopeful. So I don't know. All three books I've picked have left a very like emotional connection or emotional imprint on me.
Okay.
Versus like, oh, that's cool. So I guess maybe that's what's doing it for me throughout life. It's all very like the grander scope of humanity kind of stuff. But yeah, Station 11.
Emily St. John Mandel. Is that who wrote that?
And it was kind of a big name for a while too. The book.
Yeah,
it was going around.
It did well.
Kind of surprised it hasn't become a show or something.
Yeah, it's made for it.
Yeah, HBO or AMC or something like that. But yeah, it's following a bunch of different characters who don't really interact. There's some intersection with certain characters, but there's other characters who just never run into each other. But it's just interesting, and it's another one of those. It's kind of like Canticle of Leibowitz, where some people follow. Station 11 is a comic book, but it's not.
Right, that's right.
It's a comic book that a woman did. And she only did like 2 issues of it, and so it was like a small, like artsy comic book.
Yeah, prestige format.
Yeah, prestige format, and it kind of becomes a blueprint for a cult. But also, one person takes this comic book and forms a cult, but another person takes this and it's like what gets her through life, her normal life, and another person's turning an airport into like a history museum for humanity. So it's interesting. I think it's kind of an easy. It's dark stuff, but it's kind of like a breezy post-apocalyptic book. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it didn't really click with me, but I wasn't a fan.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think the book club was largely also not fans.
Yeah.
You had a couple in there who were like, "Oh yeah, I loved it." Who got it like you. I don't think it just clicked with you in a way that didn't for me.
Yeah. I almost didn't go up to the book club. I was like, I don't want to go to book club if people are going to talk bad about
That's true.
it.
That's a thing
I'm
you do.
leaving.
That is a thing you do.
It's a thing I almost did.
Times 1,000.
Oh boy. What's next? Oh, that's it.
Yeah, that's pretty
our
much
top
it.
3.
Yeah.
So I also like Ringworld, Starship Troopers.
See, I haven't read any Larry Niven.
Yeah.
So I need to get on there.
Starship Troopers.
Yeah, I have read Starship Troopers.
And Rendezvous with Ranma felt like a very cool, almost Michael Crichton-like sci-fi story with no real ending, which I guess is kind of like Michael Crichton in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
so,
I suppose it is.
Yeah, dry characters, no ending, big sci-fi ideas.
We've done many Michael Crichton episodes if you want to go back and visit.
Yeah.
I think I pretty much covered all of mine.
Okay.
That I like the best. And thanks to our listeners who sent it in. Sorry we didn't get to all of them, but keep sending them.
Yeah.
We always like to hear from you. You can find us at soundcloud.com/allthebooks or anywhere you find your podcasts. Take a minute to rate and review the show. Share it on social media. You can find us on Twitter at All The Book Show, Facebook at David A. Howe Public Library. You can email us at wellsville@stls.org.
We do have an email. Yeah. We use that. We have an All The Book Show at
do we?
Gmail.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
yeah. Use that then.
Okay. allthebookshow@gmail.com.
Yeah.
You can find us there.
That's where you can find us on YouTube.
Yeah, and like I said, we've got some exciting episodes coming up. Fred Van Lent is here next week. We've got Lauren James. We've got David Dvorkin coming back.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun stuff in the month
David
of July
Dvorkin,
and beyond.
Well-known Gotham critic.
Yeah, Gotham critic, NASA scientist,
Sci-fi writer.
author. Yep, those are his main things. We're in the summer reading program right now. Craft classes, book clubs, special events, movies every Wednesday morning. The book sale's just about to start. Tuesdays on the
Balloon
terrace.
rally.
Yep, Balloon Rally's the 20th of July. We're going to be open 8 to 2, where we unveil the big book sale. We do tours. It's good times. A lot of things going on at the David A. Howe Public Library. Anything you want to mention in particular?
I am very thirsty.
I'm thirsty too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just talking sci-fi. We're showing this Friday at 4:30. We're showing My Hero Academia: Two Heroes,
Ooh.
the movie.
Fun.
Yeah, we watched it at teen night. It was a month when it came out new. It was fine.
Okay.
It
Showing
got
that down
better.
in the auditorium.
Yeah, and then the one after that is Dragon Ball Super Broly.
Not Evolution. Not Dragon Ball Evolution.
No, we're not showing Dragon Ball Evolution.
For our senior matinee, we're
Though
showing...
You enjoyed that one.
when it first came out, I did enjoy it. My wife rewatched it recently, and I caught some of it and was like, oh, this is not good. This is bad. Our senior matinee for July is going to be on July 23rd at 2 o'clock, and we're showing Forbidden Planet.
Oh,
Great classic sci-fi starring Leslie Nielsen before he was known primarily as a comedian.
yeah. Was he Mr. Magoo?
Yeah, he was Mr.
Okay.
Magoo. He was Mr. Magoo. But he's a dashing hero in this one.
Yeah, he was
got,
a serious
got Robbie the
actor
Robot in there.
for a while.
It's a good movie. If you
Until
haven't seen
the
it,
Naked
check
Gun
it out.
series?
Naked Gun, yeah.
Airplane.
Yeah, I think Police Squad was maybe
Oh,
the
boy,
first
yeah.
real thing where Leslie Nielsen was like, this is me now. But yeah, we're going to be showing Forbidden Planet. So I hope you can join us for that and all the other fun programs going on. I think it's going to do it for episode 201.
We're going to go get some pink lemonade.
Yeah.
That sounds very refreshing.
Yes. Thanks again to all the listeners who provided feedback. Thanks for Stephen VanValkenburg for joining us on our little segment, and we'll see you next time.
Oh, let me end.
Oh, but we're still on Twitch.
We are still on Twitch. They always get this little, hey, we're still going kind of moment. But I do have to go. I've got to go do my kids' hangout.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, one.
She only watched Dragon Ball Evolution because of Eric, so really,
this?
it's your fault.
These Knicks supported their spouse in watching Dragon Ball relationship.
She and I went to see it in theaters when it first came out because she was a Dragon Ball fan and I was not. And at the time, she hated it because she was a Dragon Ball fan, and I was kind of like, no, it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I watched maybe a half hour of it this time around. It was like, woof.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
So,
but again, this time didn't hate it.
Sour Patch Kids lemonade.
Ugh. Ugh.
It needs to stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, friends.